Hi girls. So the next illustration is illustration number 12, wherein this is again calculation of net GST payable, but it's a slightly different problem wherein which we have not done it earlier. Okay, wherein in this problem we can see certain details given, wherein you have to first calculate the sale value, okay, the total cost, and then the transaction value, and then you have to calculate your net GST payable. Okay, so wherein details given in such a way that you are given some kind of purchase details, and then some kind of manufacturing expenses details, and maybe profit made details. So possibly before you calculate your like output tax payable or input tax payable, you should arrive at proper transaction value in order to calculate your tax payable. So when your proper transaction value is not given, rather details like this is given firstly to calculate your sales value and then calculate your net GST payable, you should do it that way, wherein you have to first calculate whatever is the value of the sales that which is made, and based on that you will calculate your output tax credit and your input tax credits. Okay, so this illustration is again taken from your textbook, and it's illustration number 12. So let me read the details of this particular question for you. Mr. Manjunath of Karnataka purchases goods from Mr. Venkatesh Babu of Karnataka for rupees 8,55,000 including CGST at 6% and SGST at 6% in the month of July 2020. He incurred rupees 2,50,000 as manufacturing expenses and added 30% profit on cost. Mr. Manjunath sold 80% of the goods to Mr. Ramesh of Karnataka on 2/8/2020. Remaining 20% of the goods were transferred to his branch in Andhra Pradesh on 2/8/2020. Compute the net GST payable. The question seems very simple, but there are a lot of hidden details in this, girls. Okay, so firstly, things that you have to note down clearly is that here, so whenever we are calculating whatever is the total cost of the product, or whenever we are calculating the transaction value, you should remember that when your purchases is inclusive of CGST and SGST, first thing that you have to do you have to exclude the same. You're not supposed to include the taxes of CGST, SGST and arrive at transaction value. So you can analyze here 8,55,000 on that 6% GST and CGST and 6% SGST is included. That means you have to first deduct this. Okay. Apart from that, is also incurred some 2,50,000 as manufacturing expenses. So all these manufacturing expenses need to be added, and 30% of profit on cost also needs to be added. So it is there in your transaction value calculation format that any profits as such given, you will have to add the same. Okay, so then maybe you will arrive at your transaction value. So let's see how to go about solving this particular problem. Okay, so here I have solved it for you. So first thing is you have to calculate the sales value. Okay, like I told you, you have to arrive at transaction value, and then only you should go ahead calculating the output tax payable, input tax credit, and then whatever is your net GST payable. Okay, so as per that thing, we will divide the calculation into two different aspects. So we are firstly calculating the sales value, and then another one we are going to do is we are going to calculate the net tax payable. Okay, so I'm dividing the problem into two different parts. Alright, so first one we are going to see here is as usual, you have particulars and amount column in how you have the transaction value calculation. So under that, the first thing that will take into consideration is purchase of goods within the state. So purchase of goods within the state is given it to you as 8,55,000, but it is inclusive of 6% CGST and 6% SGST. So you have to reduce to such an extent. So I've already told you how to go about calculating, the formula as well. So I'm taking the shortcut here. So 8,55,000 into 100% divided by 112%, for which the thing is sold. So to such an extent you have to take into consideration, wherein from this 2,55,000 you have to minus to the extent of 12%, and then you will take the remaining amount into consideration. So that way the remaining amount is going to be 7,63,393. So to that, you're going to add the manufacturing expenses. So it's given here, he incurred 2,50,000 as manufacturing expenses. So add that 2,50,000 as manufacturing expenses. So you will arrive at something called as the total cost. Okay, so 7,63,393 plus 2,50,000 will give you 10,13,393. That's going to be your total cost. Now to that, you also need to make in some kind of other additions. But before that, let us calculate the cost of goods sold. Okay, so the cost of goods sold we are considering only to the to the extent of 80%. Okay, because this 20% more we have to take into consideration later. Okay, so firstly, cost of goods sold to the extent of 80%, because 80% was sold, 80% of the goods was sold to Ramesh of Karnataka. Okay, while the remaining was transferred to his branch in Andhra Pradesh. So only to the extent of 80% we are calculating by taking into consideration the total cost. So the cost of the goods sold within the state, okay, will be 10,13,393, this amount into 80%. So that will be the total value here. To that you will add profit margin. So again it will be profit margin will be calculated on whatever is the 80% amount, okay, for the SGST. So 8,10,714 into 30%. So you will arrive at this particular amount, that is 2,43,214. Okay, so now we are going to arrive at what is called as transaction value. Alright, so this transaction value is something which is within the state. So you are going to arrive at a total called as 10,53,928. Now let us also calculate and keep the stock that is transferred outside the state. Okay, so that is to the extent of 10,13,393 into 20%. We are calculated only for 80%. No, this is within the state. This is outside that state. 20% divided by 100. So 2,02,679. So this is something which will be considered for calculating your IGST. Be it input tax credit or output tax credit, we are considering this for IGST. Alright, so now you have arrived at the transaction value as 10,53,928, and for of course your IGST it will be 2,02,679. So let us now see how to go about calculating the net tax payable. So usual format, output tax, okay, you will consider, and then from that you will minus your input tax credit and then arrive at your net GST payable after setting off. Alright, so output tax payable, you can see here is output tax payable is calculated for CGST on 10,53,928. So from where are you getting this amount? That is your transaction value. Okay, from this amount you're going to take and you are going to calculate the output tax payable. Okay, so for CGST and SGST it's already given in the problem as 6% and 6%. So you will calculate for 6% and 6%, and that's going to be 63,236, 63,236. For IGST you are going to consider this amount, which is going to be the transaction value, that is 2,02,679. So on that the total percentage, IGST percentage is 12%. So you will arrive at the amount 24,321. Take the total to the total column. Alright, so the next one that we have to do is we have to reduce from that the input tax credit. So input tax credit is calculated on whatever is purchased, whatever is coming in. Okay, but then it should be excluding GST. So we are going to consider the amount that we calculated excluding GST. So you can see here in this particular column, so purchase of goods within the state actually given is this much, includes 8,55,000 inclusive of 12% GST, but then we are minusing that and we are arriving at this particular amount. So we will consider this 7,63,393 only for calculation of input tax credit. That will be for both 6% and 6% CGST and SGST. So we are going to arrive at the amount 7,63,393 into 6 divided 100 will be 45,803. and same for 45,803 for SGST. Now, there is nothing as such for IGST. So now you will arrive at the totaling of this particular amount. Okay. So the totaling of this amount, here you can see that this particular problem is trying to set off the CGST input tax credit for CGST output tax and SGST input tax credit for SGST input tax. Okay, they're not totaling and taking this entire amount and setting off one by one, but they are taking the input tax credit of CGST and using it for CGST only, taking the input tax credit of SGST and using it for SGST only. So that way, if you minus 63,236 minus 45,803, you're coming at the total, arriving at the total of 17,433. The same way, you're also setting off this particular SGST column wherein 63,236 is your output tax payable. From that, you're reducing the input tax credit of the SGST, that is 45,803. You're arriving at again 17,433. Okay, so here you don't have any kind of ITC, so you bring down your output tax payable as it is. So the total net GST payable for you will be 59,187. So that is about the total net GST which you have to pay, right? So if you have any doubts in this problem as well, girls, please contact me or let me know. I will be glad to clarify on your doubts. Thank you.